I'm Jody Sanders with American Patchwork and Quilting, and today's video is being brought to you by Baby Lock and the Crescendo machine. You see this pile of t-shirts? I'm going to give you some tips and tricks today for turning this pile of t-shirts into some blocks that then you can make into a quilt. T-shirt quilts are a lot of fun to make, but almost every one is unique and different because it's really difficult to get them all to be the same size because your motifs on your t-shirts are all going to be different. Now, what's a great tool to use for figuring this all out? Well, how about some graph paper and a pencil? So you can buy this graph paper at any local office supply store, and it's gridded, and so it's really helpful when you're trying to put those parts and pieces together. Now, you've got your pile of t-shirts, and one of the first considerations when you're putting your design together is how big are the motifs on the front of your shirt, or maybe the back or down the sleeve of your shirt. You might have all of those parts and pieces that you're trying to fit together. So I want to show you a t-shirt here that has a fairly large motif on the front. It's pretty good size, and so it may be a little not square. It may end up being a rectangular shape, and that's totally fine. You can see that the t-shirt I have on has a very horizontal shape, and so it's probably going to be more rectangular, and I may need to add some different pieces of sashing to make it a little more square. I also have a couple of t-shirts here from an event that we did with our Million Pillowcase, and these smaller motifs, I may want to put 3 or 4, 5 of those together and make another unit that then I can add into my quilt. If you want to have them all the same size, that's totally fine, but you also can have your blocks be whatever size you want them to be. So here we've got a couple of t-shirts that have motifs on the front and the back side that we want to use. So what we need to do now is we need to do what we call deconstructing the t-shirt. So we're going to cut them apart so that we can use both the fronts and the backs. Now that we've cut our t-shirt apart, we're going to be using this motif to show you how to put the fusible stabilizer on the back of it. Why fusible stabilizer is important is that the t-shirt itself has a lot of stretch to it, and if you don't put the stabilizer on it, it's really hard to handle when you're putting those blocks together and make everything square. But there is important information that you need to know about the stabilizers themselves. There are different ones out there on the market. You want to look for ones that say featherweight or lightweight. You don't want your t-shirts to be stiff and crunchy. You want that stabilizer to be nice and soft and pliable, just like your t-shirt. So the couple that I want to show you here today there are woven versions and non-woven versions. There are also a little bit of bumpiness on the back of the stabilizer itself. The front side is kind of soft, and the back side has a little bit of a bubble to it. And that's the adhesive that you're going to be ironing on to the back of your shirt. So you want to make sure that you've got the right side of the stabilizer on the back side of your shirt so it doesn't adhere to your iron when you're pressing them together. So just like your t-shirt, your stabilizer also has a side that's not very stretchy, and then another side that has a lot of stretch to it. This side not so much. This side has a lot more stretch. So when you're putting it on the back of your t-shirt, you want to make sure that opposites are with each other. So you want to have the stretchy side of your shirt with the non-stretchy side of your stabilizer, and vice versa. That way you really have a nice solid piece that you're sewing when you're putting your blocks together. So now I've got the stabilizer pressed to the back side of my t-shirt. So you can see the motif is here. So it's on the back side of the t-shirt, and I've cut my stabilizer piece a little bit bigger than the actual size I'm going to be cutting. My actual blocks are going to be 12 inches square finished, and this is a 12.5-inch square ruler, so this is what I'm going to be using as the template when I get ready to cut my block in just a minute or two. But I wanted to show you how the stabilizer is bigger than the area I'm going to be cutting, and that's because if I cut a 12.5-inch square of stabilizer and a 12.5-inch square of my t-shirt, the t-shirt, as you can see here on the edges, they tend to roll up a little bit, and if you're trying to fuse that stabilizer and the t-shirt exact sizes together, sometimes things can get folded underneath, or it's just not very flat. So if you do it like this and have a little extra on both sides, when you actually go to cut out your block, it's going to be much easier for you. So that's what the stabilizer looks like on the back. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. I'm ready to cut it out. If you want to do a little pressing on the front, you can use what's called a pressing cloth. It's just a very thin piece of cotton that you put over the top, and then you would go ahead and press over your motif, and it protects your iron from any of the ink from the t-shirt motif coming up on your iron or smearing or smudging. So if you do want to press the front side and you're going to be going over some ink on the front, it's a good idea to use a pressing cloth. So we're ready to cut. As I said, this is my 12.5-inch square, and in this particular case, you can see this would be the exact center. Well, I don't have enough room. If I did this, my t-shirt here, centered it, I don't have enough room for it to be the exact center. And that's really okay, because I don't know that I want all of my designs exactly in the middle anyway. So we can have this one centered so that you've got the motif within the seam allowance. Remember, you're going to have a 1/4 inch around on each side. Make sure you've got enough room, and then once you feel like you've got that centered, you can go ahead with your rotary cutter and cut around all 4 sides, and you'll end up with your fused block. Now you have all your pieces cut out, you're ready to put your quilt top together. You'll want to switch out and use a jersey needle and 100% cotton thread. Now it's time to go gather up those t-shirts and put them together in a terrific memory quilt. If you need more inspiration, we have some free patterns on our website, and you'll see the link at the bottom of your screen. So go check those out and get to making your very own memory quilt.